Hey guys, I wanted to talk about compulsive hoarding, and I wanted to talk about it not only in the physical sense of collecting things in your life, but also kind of like mental hoarding and hoarding information in your head. It's one of the things that is very commonly associated with OCD, like hand washing, but I think it's not talked about enough, and maybe that's not why it's talked about enough, at least on our channel, because it's something way too common and stereotypical for OCD. So, but I had this in my teenage years, especially because I'm someone who is a little bit of a sentimental person. So in my teenage years, I used to collect so many different things like receipts from like a memorable day out with my friends, or like a receipt from my first ever date, things like that. And just like random scraps of paper or drawings or a card or something, basically any form of memorabilia, even like a pen that was used in some important, like, memory or something like that. And of course, there's a huge fear of forgetting that is involved over here. And it's almost like if I forget certain things, then I will feel empty and I will not feel happy. So, in order to keep reminding myself of all the good things in my life, I want to hoard these things and I want to collect these things because I want to remember exactly what happened. And it's a fear of losing good memories. It's a fear of losing happy memories and not having that as a part of your life. So and there's a certain obviously fear of depression as well that's attached to it too, and a fear of perhaps emptiness. It has a slightly existential flavor to it sometimes too, because just the notion of forgetting life and forgetting these things that you're collecting these things in your life, and then later on, I mean, if you have kids, your kids are not most likely going to keep a lot of those things. And even if they do, maybe their kids might not keep those things and discard a lot of those things because they will not have the same sentimental attachment and value to those things. And I think it's kind of like a cycle of life kind of thing that makes human beings sad sometimes, which is just how like things get forgotten at some point. Like, the family home that you live in right now, like, I don't know, a generation or two later, it'll all be sold and it'll be divided amongst other people. Someone else will move into this place. They might even demolish the house. I think about that sometimes too, because my parents built the house that I live in right now. That's the house I was born in. That's the house I've grown up in. I've never lived anywhere else. And I think just the thought that after my parents die, and like all us siblings will most likely be in different places, and living and maybe one sibling will be living over here, but at some point, I think how it usually happens, that your old family home gets sold off and everyone takes their share of the inheritance and money and things move on. And I do feel quite sad about it because it's just like a place that held so many memories and a place that held so much value, and happiness, and it was basically like a safe haven. Like, even still, when I go back home, your home is home, right? Especially if you have a good positive association with home, so you never stop feeling like it's your safe haven. So to think that this place was a safe haven and now it's no longer there, I think there's a certain sadness obviously attached to that. But at the same time, it doesn't need to be a crippling amount of sadness to the point where we completely change our life to the point of holding on to things and again hoarding things and collecting things, so that we're like, no, I need to cherish each and every single second. Because in fact, then trying to hold on to each and every single happy memory also becomes, it actually starts becoming a task. It starts becoming stressful and not something fun and happy. And I think, and that goes for anything really, even if you have relationship OCD, and spending good quality time with your partner is like a common compulsion that you have, then quality time will become a task and it will not become fun anymore and you will stop enjoying it. So it goes for any compulsive OCD behavior, because it sucks the joy out of things that are supposed to be casual and carefree and just nice and happy. So anyway, so yeah, so I used to do quite a lot of that. And then one of the compulsions that OCD sufferers do is they don't discard things. Even like I used to do this even with old t-shirts that I had been wearing for maybe like 6 7 years, and they were so worn out, and I mean, obviously, like there's nothing like an old, worn out T-shirt, and I have some of them in my closet as well. But I would things that would, I would grow out. I didn't want to throw them out because just the thought of like, no, but this is something that I've spent so many years in. How can I just discard it? I would find it really hard to do that because of in that moment when you're feeling so deeply attached to that thing and you're compulsively holding on to it, it feels like discarding it is going to feel like you have discarded like a almost like a physical part of yourself, and you have cut like a part of your body and you've just like thrown that out. So just the feeling that something will be missing, the fear of, and the sensation that something is missing, the reminder that something is missing, that's what keeps us holding on to memorabilia and different things. Even if something doesn't have a super sentimental value, like a t-shirt, it doesn't really have a sentimental value of like, oh, this was my first date or my first kiss or my first relationship or my first day out with my best friend, whatever it is. It may not even be super sentimental, but just the fact that you have history with it and you want to hold on to it just for that idea and for that purpose means you're really, really kind of like holding on to it. And I think I had to get used to discarding things because at some point, like my cabinets and my drawers and whatnot were overflowing with things, and I didn't have enough space. And I live with a family back home. I live with a family of 6 people. So I mean, and everyone has their own thing. So and at some point, like things collect, and you can't just keep holding on to things because literally there's not enough space that you have. So I also had to start practicing letting go of things, and that's like one of the biggest and like most effective even exposures. Not only are you cutting a compulsion, but you're also doing an exposure in effect as well by getting rid of some things as well. So some of the receipts, for example, that I had from my first ever movie date, I threw that away. Also because I mean it was faded away anyway, and I couldn't even read whatever was on it, what movie. I mean I remember what movie it is, but I had to risk feeling like something was missing, and I had to risk forgetting things as well. And here's the thing with it: once you get rid of something, you actually don't even think about it. And I mean, of course that can be reassurance as well, but I mean, but most of the time you actually don't think about it that much. Once you give something away, you just give it away. I even did that with clothing, like pajamas that I felt so comfortable in and I loved them, and I was like, these are so nice and comfortable, but they had worn out. Giving those off, like I gave a lot of my clothes that I was holding on to, I gave those off to charity as well. So when you're also breaking that down in terms of, your worst case scenario is that the things and clothes or whatever, a lot of the things that you're holding are things that someone else might need them more than you do, because for you, you're just holding on to them and they're just in a closet and that's all, or they're in a little cabinet. But giving them off is actually something someone else might enjoy them. Again, old memorabilia and whatnot, like these are things that, and again, this is a very typical thing, but not all memories need to be physically stored. You can also just like um, try and remember them. In fact, like I think there's a certain charm as well that I personally feel when if I'm having a conversation with someone and then in that conversation I'm like, oh, this also happened. I completely forgot about it. And then we sit and we're like, oh yeah, this happened and that happened. And so, and by the way, once you have things in your closet or in your drawers, you're not also going back to them every single day to look at them, unless you are compulsively doing that to remind yourself of happy memories. And of course you need to stop doing that as well. But most of the time people don't even do that. This kind of hoarding is also true in like internet and your laptop and phones as well, because a lot of people will bookmark things. I've done this, by the way, too. On Instagram, if I found like a helpful post or like something funny or whatever, I've saved that post. I've not even gone back to those saved posts. Like I think in ever since I've had Instagram for I don't know whatever 7-8 years, I've only gone back to my saved posts in total maybe 3 times, 4 times maybe, and that too also just to look at like a funny video that I didn't want to scroll down and watch, but that's all the other information that I thought, oh, this is helpful for me and I want to save it because I want to come back to it, I've never gone back to it. I don't even remember the things that I have saved. Like if I go to my save post right now on Instagram, I'll have literally no memory of even going back to it. People don't close their the tabs that they've opened up, the websites. People have so many things bookmarked, but how many people have actually gone to those bookmarks and gone back to those articles or whatever it is and read them? How many of you have actually gone to your notes section in your phone and all the, I don't know, ideas that you have hoarded and all the information you've copy pasted, or the screenshots that you're saving in your folders? How much are you going back to them every day to look at them? There are some people, although with OCD, they will screenshot some things from the internet and they will keep them there in their folder. And as soon as they feel triggered or they're having a bad day, they will go to that folder and they will go through those screenshots. So again, like, obviously then you're using that compulsively anyway, very obviously compulsively, to try and get rid of the trigger, to reassure yourself, to make sure that you don't stay stuck in the trigger kind of thing. So you have to be able to delete those folders as well. Again, I did that for myself as well. I deleted a lot of information, screenshots and whatnot that I thought at the time I needed to store. And especially these days, I think digitally as well, because like digitally you don't really need any physical space to hold on to things and store things. So it's very easy to take pictures of things, of memories, of moments, of things and objects. People sometimes will be like, okay, I'll physically discard this, I don't know, whatever thing or object it is, but I will take a picture of it so that I can, come back to it and I don't forget it. So the fear of forgetting, the fear of losing out on happiness, the fear of, like, in a funny way, the fear of missing out on your own past and your own life is like a big one on this. And so you have to be able to risk forgetting some important moments of your life, because every single day, worst case is that every single day you're gaining and gathering even more memories and moments with people. So if you have, let's say, like, some things from the past that you forget, you have opportunities to make new ones. And I've realized this, I'm not 60 years old or something like that, but I used to have like a really good memory. And I still have a fairly good memory. I remember things that many people sometimes don't. At the same time, I've also realized at times that I have already started to forget some things from the past, in the sense of, like, I had super good memory with music, for instance. And now there's a song that might come up on my, I don't know, Spotify shuffle or something like that, and I think, oh shit, there was this song as well. I completely forgot this song existed. And then I go down a nostalgia route of, like, then listening to that song or other songs from that person or whatever it is. And it surprises me that I forget those things, because I used to not be someone who forgets music or forgets songs. But I'm also realizing I live especially now, we live in a day and time where we are being bombarded with so much information and content all the time, so much music, so many clips. Like, people are doing, you may not have even seen a movie and you're watching like a 30-second clip of that movie, of the main climax moment of that movie that you don't even know. And then you're basically watching some more clips because you want the summary of the movie, and then you want to know what's going on, right? So, and literally, like, 10 minutes later, you won't even remember, not, you might remember the scenes that you watched, but you won't remember the name of the movie. You don't even know what the name was. And you don't even think about, oh, I'll go and watch that full movie as well. So we live at a time where we're being bombarded by messages and images and content and information all the time. My brain cannot store all of that at all. Even no matter how, even if I look at something and my brain thinks, oh, this is really valuable, I'm not going to remember that. I'm not going to remember that, because I can realistically only keep so much in my mind. And so as time goes on and as my life goes on even more, some of the things that have happened in the past that I remember right now, I think will start fading a little bit. And I also have to be able to accept and be okay with that. Because if I'm going to be like, no, 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 I need to remind myself, I need to do that, then again, you're just going to put yourself in a panic of, like, and not risking feeling like something is missing from your mind or from your memory or emotions. And that's the exact risk that needs to be taken over here, because it's a sensation of missing out on something, or of not being in on something, or forgetting something, or something missing from your mind, or from your, I don't know, from your emotional, like, fortress or whatever. Something is missing. The sensation of something missing and being empty. is something that you really have to risk. And again, like I said, it's not sunshine and rainbows, but like for instance, in the case of clothing, someone else can use those clothes if not you. I've also had it with someone, maybe, gave me like a shirt or a t-shirt as a birthday present, and it ended up not really fitting me, and I kept it for a couple of years to see, okay, does this fit me? And it still doesn't fit me. The fit is not great. And I wanted to hold on to it because, like, a good friend or someone would have given that to me. But at some point, I was also like, literally, it's like a perfectly good pair of pants, and it's going to waste in my closet. Might as well give it to someone who needs it. So we had really bad floods in Pakistan about 3 years ago. It was one of the biggest like natural disasters that we have experienced in our history. And that was also one of like a big push for me. I mean, I had stopped hoarding at that point anyway, but I think that became like even like a further push for me to take out some clothes that I did think were also, that I still liked and I wanted to wear, but I still gave them away because I was like, I have the means to get more clothes and I won't even remember these clothes, so might as well just give them off to someone else that can use it. So I'm also then willing to risk me missing out on some happy things or some good experiences and let someone else, be able to have some good from that. So there you can see that there's, I mean, it might not be completely happy-go-lucky, but there's a, with your worst case scenario of you sitting with that uncomfortable feeling, someone else can have a best case scenario with that as well. So it's a bit more gray. It's not as catastrophic in black and white like that. And so and even, by the way, compulsive things that people do with mental hoarding is repeating information to themselves. Like, literally, I know people who sometimes just whisper things to themselves because they don't want to forget something. Or they will check their phone or their notes or their folders in their phone or whatever it is, like compulsively, to make sure they haven't forgotten something. They also ask other people things as well, so that they, when, because it can feel like, okay, I'm reminding myself of these things and I need another voice to say the same thing to me so that I can really absorb it and memorize it. This happens on one-to-one calls, by the way. Sometimes people will be like, they will ask me to repeat certain things, and I can also tell. I mean, I'm not stupid as well. Sometimes people will be like, oh, by the way, it just cut out for a bit. Can you say that again? And they're just wanting me to say that important thing again so that they can really keep it in their mind. So you will see that on one-to-one calls as well. People will want you to repeat certain information 3, 4, 5 times so that they can get the feeling that something has been absorbed into their brain. So compulsive mental hoarding can also look like you watching a YouTube video, whatever kind of like video it might be, and you replaying a scene over and over again, so that until you get the feeling that this information has sunk into your brain and your brain has fully absorbed it. So hoarding comes in like all shapes and forms, and especially these days there's a lot of digital hoarding as well that you really have to keep an eye on. You have to look at the fears over there, and again, the perfect exposure slash compulsion to cut is to be able to give your things away. And I know it sound, even if it feels like important memorabilia, even if it feels like it's attached to like a really important person, but you have to also think about how many things can you realistically hoard, how many things can you realistically keep till it starts affecting your life. I read one of the there's this book called The Man Who Couldn't Stop by David something, and it was probably the first OCD book I ever read, and it's a good book in terms of, I think, just reading different cases, and especially reading extreme cases that have happened of OCD in history. And there was this one case that the book talked about. I don't remember the exact details, but there was this woman who hoarded so many things in her house that her house became like a maze, and eventually she died because there were things that fell on her and she couldn't get out of them. So, I mean, that's obviously like an extreme example, but I mean, I wouldn't put it past someone watching this video right now who probably has a lot of cramped space in their house, in their closet, in their drawers, and things like that because they haven't gotten rid of stuff. So, as uncomfortable as it might feel like with any other exposure, maybe start getting rid of some things. So I hope this video helps. I mean, it's a bit of a random topic compared to some of the other theme specific ones that we talk about, but let me know what you think. If you have questions, of course, as always, pop them down below, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.